The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas slashed interest rates amid sustained low inflation. This comes after economic growth for the first quarter came below market expectations. Bim Santos with the story.
The country's economic expansion slowed down to a record four-year low as a budget delay took a toll on public spending. The gross domestic product eased to 5.6%, much lower than the 6.3% from the previous quarter and the 6.5% in the same quarter of last year. It was the lowest since the 5.1% growth rate in the first quarter of 2015. It also broke 16 consecutive quarters of at least 6% growth. The growth, which was below market expectations, also dampened market sentiment, with the bellwether Philippine Stock Exchange Index falling 2.2%. Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Ernesto Perña says the failure of Congress to pass a 2019 budget on time was largely to blame. The government has been operating on a reenacted budget after lawmakers failed to pass the proposed 3.7 trillion 2019 budget on schedule.
As we had forewarned repeatedly, the reenacted budget would sharply slow the pace of economic growth.
If not for the reenacted budget, Perña says the economy would have grown 6.6% in the period. With a setback, the country now needs to grow at least 6.1% for the next quarters to hit at least the minimum of the 6.7% growth target for the year. Perña says he is still hopeful the target will be hit.
This is still achievable, fortunately, I hope, given the current performance of the private sector. And if the government sector is able to jumpstart and speed up implementation of its new programs and projects.
Perña also dismisses any possible effect on investor sentiment the Aos Duterte matrix issues may have.
I think investors or local as well as local businessmen, local investors, as well as international foreign investors, I think they have learned to be transcendent in their view of the economy. They are not really so bothered about this, some stylistic things, things having to do with matrices and that kind of thing. They just look beyond these mundane things. They're more concerned about the performance of the economy per se.
Following the release of the GDP data, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas decided to cut its policy rate by 25 basis points to 4.5%. The central bank said their decision considered the tame inflation environment and the impact of the budget delay on economic activity. Inflation has softened in April to 3% after hitting a 9-year record high of 6.7% last year.
As a result of that benign reading of inflation outlook, there was some flexibility that was exercised by the Monetary Board by way of normalizing the 175 basis points tightening that we did between May and November of 2019.
Bim Santos, we are One News.